Spray foam is a building material, and it can be good and it can be bad, just like a hammer can be used to hit somebody in the hand with, and then it's not a tool anymore. So I've read through your terribly frustrating story. Where would you like to begin?
Um, uh, yeah, it's complicated. So it was a new construction completed in June of last year. We moved in. From the first day we moved in, you could smell something was off, and we could taste like a chemical in the air.
What did it
So
taste like?
it wasn't a metallic taste, it's some type of chemical. Then in July, I noticed I couldn't cool off the second story. So we have foam insulation in the roof, foam insulation in the walls, and then I have closed cell in the crawl space. I talked to the HVAC guys, talked to the foam contractors. They weren't much help, so I went online and I bought an infrared camera. I have pictures where the foam was peeling from the rafters and you could see like 2 inches where it's peeling. I saw these spots that were 130 degrees and where the foam was fine, it'd be 80 degrees. And this was when it was 100 degrees outside in July. But what the remedy for the foam installers, what they did at that time is they came in and they put another layer of foam over the top of that. It cooled the place off, but we continued to have smells. The foam was retaining water, so it was growing that mold in there, and it was Stachybotrys, however you say it.
Yeah.
Mold. So we remediated that in August. So currently, I still have my bathroom wall open and part of the bedroom wall open. The reason for the call today is, so the ERV, I had to pretty much fight my HVAC installer for 3 months to put an ERV in the attic because, like I said, it was foam in the attic, foam in the walls, all the exterior walls, foam. So I had a bubble. And I was like, well, maybe the smells because the bubble's trapped full of bad stuff. Let's get it out. So we put an ERV in. And you could see immediately my CO2 goes from 2,000, 2,500 to under 1,000.
So we're insulating away from outside and also insulating away from the house. And that tells us that we're not really probably properly conditioning or accepting that this space is part of the house. What's up, guys?
How's it going?
Are you twins?
No, 2 years apart. I'm Bob Gasca. This is my brother Joe here. We are the owners of South Chicago Insulation. I've been installing spray foam since I was 15. I'm now 35 now. And we're just a very small owner-operated, family-run business. We do a lot of retrofit attics and crawl spaces. And anytime there's a problem someone needs fixed, a lot of times that's what we're called for.
And Joe, when you guys are actually spraying, it's one of the two of you in the suit, right?
Correct. Yep. We're the ones that are come looking at the job and we're the ones spraying it.
As far as this coming along with something that's not acting right and spraying more over it, is that an industry practice, or have you guys done that before?
Absolutely not. That's not a good practice. Yeah, that's not a good practice. You don't want to seal in the bad foam that's already sprayed. You want to remove that and start fresh.
Yeah, and with that, with anytime you have bad foam, especially with open cell foam, it rips out so easily. You want to take it out before you do anything. It would be horrible to put it in because you're just going to trap. You're not going to fix the problem. You're going to mask it temporarily, and then it's going to come back shortly after.
How expensive is that to take that all out? And have you guys done that for other jobs as well, where you come along and have to fix something and you then have to rip it out? Is it just plastic bags? How does it work?
Yeah, we have. We actually did that this spring in Beecher, Illinois. We had a job similar to that. We had to tear out all the drywall where the spray foam was installed and then remove the spray foam. And this was 7 inches of closed cell, not open cell. So it was a little little more taxing to get that removed, between removing the drywall, removing all the old foam, which removal of closed cell foam costs more than application. And you know how much application costs. So, because it is time consuming to remove, very time consuming, because as we know, it's a great product, but when you're trying to remove 7 inches of it from an entire house, it's pretty rough. So it was delaminating off the rafters, and delaminating off the sheathing on the roof deck. We could have just sprayed in the gaps, but we knew that wasn't a good practice because there's air gaps, and we want to make sure that we have good adhesion to the substrate all around and good foam all around, because we don't know what's wrong with the foam, what's causing it to delaminate from those rafters. So
You guys sound like clients who are chasing after the cheap option are not your clients. Would you say that that's true?
absolutely correct.
We lose a lot of business to cheaper installers.
So then do you like it when people come to you having already educated themselves on YouTube or on Reddit or whatever?
Oh, absolutely. When they ask good questions, that's my favorite.
I compliment them all the time too. Like,
Yeah.
hey, you look like you've done your homework. You know your stuff. You're my kind of guy or girl.
That is awesome. That's awesome.
So Monday, I'm measuring CO2. I've been measuring CO2 and radon every day since we've been here, since July. My radon level has always been low.
You have a radon system?
No. So when we initially moved in, I'm like, I need to measure anything possible to quantify, these smells, the taste, anything you can think of. The crazy thing is, after this big rain we had on Tuesday, my wife said, there's something going on in the house again. So we're staying here. We've moved in and out twice. We're staying on the opposite end of the house in a game room. All my numbers are okay there. There's definitely something wrong Tuesday. Big. So my monitor's in the bedroom. I Bluetoothed it to my phone, and it said the CO2 is 4,600. And the day before the rain, it was 489, something like that. So 10x jump. I go over to my radon monitor. It's 13. It's always been under 2. Well, let me go check the crawl space. So I put my CO2 monitor in the crawl space. I closed the crawl space door, and within, I'd say 60 seconds, it's like somebody took the breath out of me. I couldn't breathe. Closed the door. I got out of there. The CO2 was reading 5,000. That may be the cap on my machine is 5,000. Now we just busted a block open, and I put one of those vent fans in there.
Crawl space. We have a Panasonic inline fan that's drawing from over there underneath the master suite. We also have that right there, PVC pipe, which is leading to the radon system. So you can see right here, we had the closed cell foam supposedly adhering to the plastic, which it didn't. This is perfectly smooth. Didn't adhere to that, and it cracked away for some reason here, probably because of moisture. And this was the original just tack up job of the tape to the wall. And so we can take our handy little manometer and know what kind of a job the radon fan is doing way over here, since we've got access to the underside of the vapor barrier. Nothing. So the radon fan is way over there, and its intention is to depressurize the entire underside of this vapor barrier, but it's not doing it even just right here. And we've got all the way back there, probably another, I don't know, 60, 80 feet. That's definitely not getting depressurized. So there's this YouTube channel that Bob and Joe and I all watch, which is Spray Jones. He's very clear about spelling out what can go wrong and why with spray foam, which is the topic of our video today too, right, guys? But he is located in Canada.
Yep. Canada, they have a limit to, they can only spray 2 inches at a time of closed cell spray foam, where we really, there is no limit. It's up to the manufacturers to create that limit. There's high lift foams that you can spray up to 4 inches at a time per pass. And then typically we stay between 2 and 3 inches. We don't do that thick of a pass at once, just to be on the safe side, because if you do spray too much, the exothermic reaction can be too great, create too much heat.
Awesome. And then the structural stability of it changes, right?
Structural stability also.
And then also they have VOC testing that's required, I believe, after has mentioned this in videos before, where like they have somebody third party come in and test the off gassing of the spray foam a couple days after, just to make sure that it's not going to be a problem for whoever moves in there. Do you know anything about that testing?
That's not something we do here in the States.
No, I'm not too sure on that. I know they do application testing as well throughout the ways. They do adhesion tests, density checks as well. So
When you go above and beyond, some of your clients are going to think that you're just trying to upcharge them. Would you be in favor of that being regulated and being forced here as well?
Yes,
absolutely.
absolutely.
Yep.
So Todd asked the builder, and it was in the contract, to install a 10 mil white vapor barrier, and instead they gave him this 6 mil vapor barrier. And you can see what 6 mil does when you start walking on it. It just gets holes in it, little punctures all over the place. So this thing isn't really gonna be airtight at all. So we have closed cell foam on the walls. We've got ductwork down here, no insulation on the floor above. That's the right answer. We have one HVAC system for the master. We have an HVAC system for the main area. We have two dehumidifiers down here. So 2 dehumidifiers just for the crawl space. This is the answer to the question that I get sometimes, which is like, what if I don't do any of the things that you recommend? What if I just try to, push my luck? And often the answer is you end up putting a lot of HVAC equipment in anyway, but it's not elegant and it's not like any of them serves the whole house. So you'll end up with a lot of equipment either way, probably. People produce CO2, animals produce CO2. How many people live in your house?
Just 3, 2 dogs, 3. And that's what I'm saying. The area that I'm monitoring 24 hours a day, there's nobody living in there. It has its own dedicated unit. It's barricaded off.
Yeah, you're awesome. First of all, good job. You're doing so much right. Aside, if it wasn't a combustion backdrafting issue, you don't have gas anywhere in the house?
I have a natural gas run to my pool. And then, but that doesn't go underneath the house. I have one fireplace that has gas and we've never used it. And I actually have the line turned off.
Okay.
We have a natural gas hot water tankless heater that is under the crawl space and it's vented.
Okay.
So that's the 2 things I have under there.
Okay, I would look at that one immediately then. And the installer defeated one of the central safety features of this. That pipe on the right is the combustion gases going outside. That's the toxic combustion byproducts. This one over here is the fresh air intake, which also should be going outside. And they've opened it up into the crawl space. So that's actually kind of, I don't know, it's just more dangerous. It might work that way. It generally does. Lots and lots of people have that, but it just basically, you get cheated out of having a full sealed combustion system into just having what is called a power vented system. We're testing that water heater, and it looks like it's actually fine. We've got 85 degree, that's a very high efficiency of the temperature. We have 6.3% oxygen. That means there's some oxygen left over. That's normal with a power vent. That actually should be higher. Carbon monoxide is really low. Carbon dioxide as well is on this. So yeah, that doesn't look like it's a big problem. I would say the fan on that, it's not super powerful. I would want to have it serviced. And so I reached out to some of the microbe experts that we've got on home diagnosis, and my mold guy said there's no chance unless it's a mold farm and he's actually trying to make fungus in the house. You couldn't even get close to that with carbon dioxide. So it was something else, and we were like trying to dig through it, but you found 2 things. One, the vent stack for the plumbing was blocked, and also you had a radon mitigation system installed. So did that fix the problem?
Yeah, up to this date, yes, we fixed the plumbing, and the radon mitigation system was installed about approximately the same day, about 4 months ago. And since then, our carbon dioxide level has been less than 900 everywhere.
Nice.
Even with people and dogs in the house.
Cool.
The manufacturer of this foam was SWD, and I've tried to speak with them about their chemical mix. So the first batch they used to spray, the one that was peeling, it's an open cell, and they consider it to be a no mix, which I don't know how it's possible. A no mix, 1 barrel, yes. Yeah. They have 2. If you go to the website, they have 2 open cell residential foams. One is kind of marketed as like a no mix. So when they came back the second time to spray, it was their regular product, which 2-barrel A and B mixed together like you normally would. And that stuff's actually a different color. So you can see the first batch is almost a yellowish color, and it was like that from the day one. The second time they came back, it's a white color.
You guys, I've never heard of this before. What is no mix foam?
Oh, there's no mix and there's mixed open cell foam. They're two different chemical makeups. No mix foam is a better product, typically, I believe, because it takes out human error. With the mixed open cell foams, it needs to be agitated. So you put your barrel agitator in the barrel and it's got to agitate for at least 15 minutes. Well, guys aren't always going to be doing that 15-minute because time is money, and they're going to skip that step, which creates human error. So if you have a mixed open cell foam, there could be the human error involved, which would give you a wrong foam.
Okay. I would have assumed that it's like a cheaper version or something like that, but you're saying it's actually better. Like there's more engineering put into it.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
In my eyes, it is. And in our manufacturer's eyes, it's a better product.
When they came the first time, I actually told them to take samples to test it, to send batching numbers and all that to SWD. They assured me they were going to test it. And then a month later, I'm like, hey, did you get any test results back? And they're like, yeah, they're not doing any tests. They only do visual inspection. There's no testing done. And we didn't even send it to them.
Just because you guys are honest, and I've got you here, and I want to ask you, if the builder and the spray foam installer deny any culpability at all, and they say there is nothing wrong, you're crazy, you're smelling things that are not there, then what happens then?
Third party, but finding a third party, that's a good question. I think that's an untapped market right there.
So I've called every lab in the country. There's basically, you can do some isocyanate tests to see if there's off-gassing of that. But the issue is there's like 100 different isocyanates. The only way to pinpoint which one to test for is the manufacturer to give you their mix and which one they use, which they won't do. They said they'll only do it to a certified installer. And my installer will not even ask the questions to give me that information. But what I have going on tomorrow is we've narrowed it down to like 19 of the most commonly used ones, and we're going to test for it. So I have a guy out of Lawrenceville that's coming tomorrow. And actually, some of the testing stuff just arrived, and it's like on dry ice, all the special things you have to do with it.
The insurance, have you talked to the insurance at all?
So the insurance, my insurance says they believe all this is originating from mold, and my mold coverage is $10,000. At this point, I'm already in the hole 60 grand. My contractors paid well over 100 to remediate all the problems that we've had. His insurance has paid him $25,000.
Good.
And that's their cap.
Yeah.
So all this money being spent, and basically they're saying now this is an ongoing problem. This isn't a singular event. So I'll get no coverage on my insurance end.
Yeah, that's I'm not surprised to hear that. I have an idea for you, but it's not going to be good. It's not sustainable at all. So I'll just say it because it's like something that you could do. Whenever you have an air quality problem, there are 4 Ps. Have you heard this?
Yeah.
Okay. So what you could just jump to is the pressure. We could just pressurize the house. The way that we would do that is do a blower door test, find out how leaky that enclosure is. I think it's probably pretty leaky. Super duper tight. Let's see. 1. Is that good? Pretty impressive. We also always run it down to half pressure, so then that number should equal about 2/3. That's just your quality control check. And then we also run it in pressurization mode, so we've got that number too, which is significantly higher than it was in depressurization. So extreme air tightness plus pretty wild temperature fluctuations in the solid stuff inside the house. Really important to run 2 different kinds of zonal pressure testing. Here's a big room we're calling the pub room. We drop the hose in during the blower door test. Close it up. That room has a zonal pressure test during blower door of 1.5, which means it's only 3% connected to outside. And we also want to check it with HVAC motivated pressures. Same room, we're going to use this tool. This is called the TEC roomulator. You got a roomulator card, this is like $5, and your DG8 single channel manometer. We can check under the door with just the AC running. And we can see that that room goes positive by at least 7.5 pascals. So now what we want that number to be is 3. So we're gonna open this up and we're gonna back this number off to 3. There-ish. And we measure the amount of opening. So now we turn this over and that says that for 1/2 inch, we need about 75 CFM of return in that room. Or if we're gonna install a transfer duct, it would be a 9-inch round, which they don't sell, you're gonna buy a 10-inch round. Or you're gonna need square inches of grill for like a jumper duct of 60 square inches. That'd be like a 12 by 5. We also may have the problem of too much return, which we've got in this room. So master bathroom, close that up, and you can see we go to -6.5. And that's because there's a great big return in that room. That's a little bit weird. And by the way, you need to be monitoring the pressure in that room with reference, which is the negative, to the main body of the house to get this right. What a nightmare for everyone involved. So have they looked at the roof at all?
I actually have a guy today. So the roof is another story. I tried to fire the roofing contractor. So during the construction, I have this area that is a level of concern. It's a cricket area in the roof, and he couldn't never get it dried in. Never until I'd say 6 months after all the roofing was on.
All right, so in short, I think HVAC system wasn't designed and then it got messed with also. So fixing those pressurizations, easiest thing you could do is just open the doors. So open doors during the daytime, we've hopefully got the same amount of air going into the house as coming out of the house. Then at night, we'll need to fix those few pressurization issues that we've got in the different bedrooms if you want to keep closing the doors. Okay. And then because you've got the air coming in from the attic in the summertime, because of stack effect, and from the crawl space in the wintertime, I think probably to kind of bandage over the odors, carbon filtration might be something that would be useful for you just in the attic and in the crawl space. You could make these things yourself. So I'm like, carbon filtration, and Todd, after I cut, is like, hey, you know, I've got like tons of carbon filtration in the house already. Each of them is a 20-pound of carbon filter. He said that they're supposed to last 5 years. How long have they been lasting?
About 2 months. Here's the carbon filter for the Austin air. And we have 3 of them in the attic. And this is another IQ air, and that has 25-pound carbon.
Wow. Okay. And so he says that you can smell when they run out, when they've stopped being functional. Okay. So that's not a solution that I'm going to recommend anymore because he's already done it. So if you're going to do this right, how do you prepare? Because it seems like there's so many variables, and I've listed some of them before, but I'm not an installer. How do you prepare the surface and your truck and your line set and all the things before you actually begin the install?
The first step is storing the chemical. So the chemical has to be stored between 50 and 70 degrees. Now, before we apply, depending on what proportioner you have, that chemical typically needs to be raised to about 75 degrees prior to it even being pumped through our stick pumps into the proportioner through the lines to the house. So that is an important thing. And then once you get to the job site, I have a tool that actually tells me the relative humidity, temperature, and the dew point of the location I'm at. So it's constantly changing and getting a very exact reading. Now, not only that, but any substrate we're spraying into to test for the moisture content, and anything under 18% moisture content is acceptable. We try to stay closer to 15 and under. And then also the temperature of the substrate we're applying to. So those 3 things are tested each and every time that we're applying foam. And some of the dangers you can get of having too humid of air in the ambient air while you're spraying is that foam will actually catch the moisture in the air as it's being sprayed, and you'll see it in the foam. You'll see little pinhole bubbles when it's cured. You have pinholes in it because it's catching that moisture, and it's foam does not mix well with water.
So probably you guys are looking at the forecast before you get in your truck. So over $200,000 of equipment, you get in with your you got at least 2 people, right?
Yep, at
on the
least
team.
2, yep.
You drive to the site, you get there, you put your little probe in the backside of the sheathing, and it says 20%. Now your choice is, let's do the right thing, call the builder, get back in the truck, go back home, and have nothing to do for the rest of the day. Like, I think most people would be like, oh God, that's a really hard decision to make as a small business owner who's got to make payroll, who's got to pay for this truck, who's got to, all this stuff. Like, how likely do you think it is that, aside from you 2 honest guys, that the bulk of spray foam contractors are actually making that decision in the field?
I'd like to think most of them would, but yeah, you really don't know. Yeah, you really don't know. I'd like to think most of them would.
A lot of the problem is when you have big companies that have different salesmen, different owners, different sprayers, and different foremen. You have different people along the way that have different level of knowledge. The foreman might show up to the job later than the actual sprayer, where the sprayer wouldn't know what the parameters of the foam are. They don't know what material they're spraying, because they're not getting communicated that on down from whoever's purchasing the material. You have a small company that's the owner operator. The people buying the foam are the people spraying the foam, so we know what the foam should be at when we spray it.
And which they should be given the TDS, which is a technical data sheets, which shows you the processing parameters of manufacturing the foam. And if you follow those directions, what I tell people all the time that are either new or whatever, that just read the TDS, read the directions that they give you. It tells you your temperature range. It tells you exactly what the substrate preparation should be. It tells you all that. So if you read that'll tell you how to manufacture a good foam.
I watch these. I live in Atlanta. We got a lot of trees around here. So we got these tree companies, and the guy who shimmies up the 100-foot tall tree and is working the chainsaw up there, I'm standing on the ground with these dudes with glasses who have been to college and all this stuff. And I'm like, hey, is he making a lot of money? And they're like, he makes so much money. The only person who makes more than him is the owner of the entire company. And it seems like in spray foam, the sprayer should be making bank, but I don't think that's the culture of the industry. Is that right?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, so it's really hard to know because we don't speak to other. We have a lot of contacts throughout the country that we speak with on a regular basis, and a lot of other companies that we work with along the way nearby. And I think people are paired. Good companies, they pay their sprayers a very fair wage, I feel.
Yeah, and it's owner operators are typically, most of the people that we are friends with are owner operators. Now, to your point earlier about say they should be the higher paid people, and then say you show up, it's 20%. A lot of them are on piece rate, which is they get paid for how much foam they're putting in the walls. So a guy that's on piece rate and he sees 20% moisture, and he's not going to get paid that day if he doesn't put any foam in them walls, he might be a little more inclined to take the shortcut. But actually, another story about that too. We were in St. Charles maybe 3 or 4 months ago, and I go out there and I'm testing my moisture like I normally do before we apply spray foam. And now, granted, St. Charles, I live in New Lenox. Our shop is in Stager, so I got a 40-minute drive there, and then Stager's about 2 hours from St. Charles because I have to go back across from where I'm at and then go to St. Charles. So I got 3 hours of driving time in. I get there, and I test one spot, and there was it was like 30% moisture in that one area. Everywhere else was pretty good, but there was 30% moisture in that one area. So I go outside, and that's right where the downspout is. Turns out that this guy had his roof done about 1.5 years earlier, and they removed the downspout during the installation of the roof. Now that had gotten moisture into his wall, and then it never got out because he had a plastic vapor barrier on that. So that moisture stuck inside his wall for over 1 year.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So what we did was we removed all that plastic. We removed all the old insulation. This was in their basement. Removed all the plastic vapor barrier, let it dry out for a couple of weeks, and then we came back and sprayed it once it was at an acceptable level.
Good luck with this house and with all the fixes that are going on. Any last thoughts about what we found out?
We'll just continue to work until we figure it out. That's all we can really do. We've had so many issues with this home. It's a custom built home, and continue to have issues, and we'll just try to work as diligent as we can and fix it.
Awesome. Good attitude. All right, you guys, comment below if you have anything to share with Todd. Like, subscribe, tune in next time.